Hey, what's up, guys? I am Brian from Stadia 74. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the channel. This video is going to be about streaming quality, not just compression, but the artifacting and the issues we have when watching live streaming from things like Game of Thrones. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a rant video. We're going to touch on Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, and the upcoming Stadia, which is the Google gaming streaming project that they're looking at pushing out. Now, those of you that are huge physical media fans, as you can tell, this is just a little portion of what I have. There are a few facets to physical media. There is the collector in us, that person that likes to display the things that we own. There is the steel books. There is the special editions that we've been creating, or I should say collecting, since VHS, Laserdisc, HD DVD. I mean, a lot of us have them everywhere. I'm not so interested in the clean look that a lot of people love now. I do like to display my physical media, very similar to the way I used to display books. When I read a good book, I loved putting it on a shelf and kind of in my mind have that completionist that I finished that book. Same with movies and games. Games forever, same thing. There's also the part of ownership. I bought, I paid for, it's mine. No one can pull it off of a site. No one can take it from me. Netflix, Amazon, all those things, when they're done with their run, they can pull that off. That won't be there. You lose it. Now, going over into streaming was not an easy thing for me. It took me a long time to really get into it. I remember when it was announced on the Xbox 360 as being this huge, promising thing. And I remember thinking, oh, I can order discs off of the 360. What's the big deal? I didn't really understand the concept of streaming even way back then. Reluctantly got into it. It was an ugly experience. It didn't really work. What I mainly noticed the issue was the artifacting and the blurry image, and how it took a little while for things to kind of smooth out. Well, obviously, we're light years beyond that. Streaming is the #1 way to consume media. We do it all every day. You guys are doing it right now, watching this video. It's unavoidable. And I fought it tooth and nail. I still buy a lot of physical media today. I still enjoy discs. I still enjoy buying my games physically. I still enjoy picking up movies, as I want the best picture quality that is available or possible. Now, quickly, where this turns into a little bit of a rant is on that quality of streaming. Now, where I did have to get into losing physical media was into Steam. And being a PC gamer, it just wasn't feasible. The best way to enjoy games was to buy them, download them. Well, here's the thing, though. I'm still downloading it. I still own it. Hopefully, Steam doesn't disappear anytime soon, but I have those games on my hard drive or my SSD, and they're there. As far as displaying them, when my window is up for my gaming, I do like still having the ability to see those games, at least the cover of them. Now, I always tell myself, well, you beat it, just delete it, and you'll still download it later. I still like to look at the games that I've beaten. Same way with the books that I've read and my movies and everything else. Now, where does this video going to go? Well, like many of you have been watching Game of Thrones Season 8, we're going to have another discussion about Season 8. I don't want to lose all my subs in one day. I am not a huge fan of where the show has gone. Its writing, its character arcs, it's very nice to look at. We'll have to talk about it another time. But I'm taking this stuff way too serious. Anyway, I was watching episode 3, which was the Battle for Winterfell. And it was the darkest episode by far. And those of us that are into home theater are not worried about dark images. Black Crush, things like that are, of course, an issue. None of my displays really suffer from it much. So I had no problem watching it. A very dark episode. So I'm watching it on my iPad, and as I'm watching it, it's a dark scene. The artifacting and the Black Crush made it basically unwatchable. Now I have high speeds all over the house. I have routers everywhere. Everything is hard lined in. There are no jumping Wi-Fi extenders. Everything is hard lined into another router, and that way I know exactly that everything's hardline. That even though I'm using Wi-Fi, I'm very close to a very powerful router within 5 or 10 feet of me, all over my house. So here I am, relaxing, and as I'm trying to get into the show, I just keep being pulled out of it because of its picture quality. Now, for many of us, quickly back to streaming, I don't mind streaming most things simply because I'm not too concerned with the picture quality, which is hard for me to say. But if I'm watching Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, any of my shows, I keep looking at my TV, I'm okay because of the convenience of an iPad or my phone or my tablets. They're all over the house. I was somebody who used to love to come home, watch a movie. In the VHS days, for example, I'd come home from work, I would pop in a VHS tape. Yes, I'm that old. I would fast forward to the middle of a movie, Scarface, Goodfellas, all the long films. I would play it and I would eat and watch TV, and I would watch movies. I was never a big TV guy, just watching random channels. Over the years, that would be DVDs. Now, coming home, there is a million things on my iPads that are ready to resume and go back to. YouTube, obviously, channels and documentaries. I just love to come home, not waste any time, and just resume. I rarely ever watch TV per se. Sports, not as much as I used to, but I don't really flip channels anymore at all. So everything is app-based. So I am fully on board. I do know I am losing picture quality in doing that. The problem with the streaming for me was I was, live streaming it in a way that the show was launching on HBO Now, but it was so distracting on how bad it was in terms of Black Crush and the artifacting. My thing is, I'm watching the show live. It's the first time I'm watching it. Different from watching it on HBO with the channels. I actually don't even have HBO. I have the app. And I'm watching this action scene, this epic action scene, which I have issues with the whole episode, but I was really struggling with it. Now I'm outside of where I was. I'm checking speeds. I'm checking, my routers. I'm resetting them. I'm getting off of my iPad. I'm using my phone, which is an OLED. And I kind of watched it that way. And I was, for somebody who loves picture quality, who has a channel based on TVs and the best picture quality, I was losing my mind a little bit. And I was thinking to myself, okay, this streaming does have its drawbacks. This is definitely frustrating. So the next day, I'm not watching it live. I'm still streaming it. All my speeds are as high as they can possibly go. My plasma, which is hard lined in, by the way, I play it on my plasma. And again, Black Crush and artifacting. So I won't be able to enjoy that episode or that series the way it was meant to be portrayed, unless I max the peak brightness and change it. Now, it was a very dark episode. I don't have a problem with the darkness of the episode. I'm used to seeing that kind of content. What I'm trying to say is that it's not just the compression. There are so many variables. There's the compression, there's the cable company, there is the wiring at the pole, how it comes into your house. It's hard enough when we're sitting there wondering if we're getting the best possible image from our picture settings or HDR or your TV or what color space. Now I have to worry about the actual cable company. Now, those of us that have gamed forever, we're always wondering, oh man, is my ping rate? We've always wondered about that. Now, as I'm watching this epic show, I was totally taken out of it by maybe compression, but definitely the artifacting from streaming. And I really didn't have another option. I didn't have my cable box to watch HBO where I can just start watching it. There wasn't a physical disc that I could put in and actually watch. So right there, I felt kind of ashamed that I was streaming it. And this brings me to my next point. When we go into streaming full-time and we say goodbye to our physical media, we will never have the best picture quality available. I don't care how good your TV is. These 8K TVs, everything's going to move towards 8K streaming. 4K streaming is now commonplace. But there's many of you that are watching this channel from other countries, other regions that don't have great internet, don't have high speeds, don't have fiber optics. You guys don't have this. Where does that leave you in terms of not just latency, but the actual picture quality really struggles? When I was first watching Sonny's Edge on Love, Death, and Robots, I loved it. It took me right out of it because not with just the grain structure, but the fact that I was having issues. I was getting stuttering. I was getting problems. I had to reload the app, restart it, and then, there it was. None of this happens on a disc. on a disc, I eject, put it in, and I'm watching it. And then I can get back into my way of checking settings and messing around with the stuff that you and I, all of us, all do. Is now, should I have that more vivid? Should I have it more? That stuff is inherent to me as being somebody who loves picture settings and messing around. I do not enjoy at all checking my internet speed or restarting my routers. It's just arduous and slow and a pain to then wait for the internet speed indicator to come back on. Oh yeah, okay, I'm good. There's no joy in that. There is joy in pausing it and messing with the settings. No joy in seeing black crush from compression. And it was making me crazy. It was actually making me, I was so frustrated with it, which leads me to the future. Now, Stadia is, I believe Google is trying to do it and some others with gaming this way. Now, what they're planning on doing is having a server and a more powerful PC someplace else and allowing you to play games at ultra resolution, ultra settings, everything else from your display with a device attached to it. Now, what made me think of this is I was playing Dishonored 2 the other day. And once in a while in PC, you take an update, it turns off HDR, it turns your resolution back to 1080p on certain titles. Now, I'm playing on a 75-inch TV. Sorry about that. So 1080p does not look great in gaming on a TV this large from this close. So I'm playing Dishonored, and as I'm playing it, the resolution was definitely off. Now I'm back into the settings, go back in, turn it back to 4K. Why is that important? Why should you guys care? I like native resolution. I don't like dynamic resolution. I don't like my resolution changing mid-game. I don't like resolution being something in the middle and something different on the outside. What I mean by that is, as I'm playing it, I realized I wasn't playing at 4K, and I had to go back and change it. If I'm playing a title from a server, from a PC in another state, who knows where it is, chances are for a good majority of that time, I'm not going to be playing native 4K or native 8K. So a lot of you guys are concerned about input lag and latency. Those are legit concerns. For me, picture quality wise, a lot of that time you're not going to be playing at a native 4K or native anything due to compression and most likely due to your internet provider. Whether they turn the faucet on or turn it off, you're going to be at the mercy of that. How many times in the middle of the night did you see your internet just drop down to nothing while you're playing a game? And we all have, or most of us have, very high speed internet. We pay for our 200, we pay for the 100, we pay for all the max. And now you're going to tell me that you're going to give me 8K, you're going to give me 4K Ultra, HDR, this crazy bandwidth, HDMI 2.1, you're going to give me that streaming? Well, here I am watching Game of Thrones, and it was a slideshow, and it was black crush everywhere. Now, I don't know if you guys experienced the black crush of that episode. Watching it again on my plasma, it was still there. Watching it on my phone, which is an OLED, it was still there, whether it was over cellular or over my provider. Now, unless we're going to see fiber at everybody's home, it's going to continue to be an issue. So please don't take my physical media from me. Please don't take my games from me. I spend thousands on a PC that can run these games natively. Now, what I love about Stadia and Netflix and all of those things is the convenience factor. Especially Stadia, if you're somebody who can't afford a graphics card that's crazy expensive, it can be very, very expensive. It is amazing to say that maybe a $100 device hooked up to your TV, kind of like a console, can give you the same resolution, the HDR, and all the settings. That would be incredible. Those of us that build PCs and enjoy PCs, it's not that I don't want to change. You just can't guarantee me that that visual quality is going to be consistent. How many times have you streamed something and in a few minutes in, you're like, okay, come on, smooth out. And I'm hard-lined in. All this equipment, so I keep looking over here, is all hard-lined in, and I still see that. Now, some of you are going to say, well, your internet sucks. We have great internet in Connecticut. It's very fast. I pay for the extra speed. Yet the picture quality is either amazing or it takes a while. Physical media, nothing takes a while. I pop it in, it works. The rant, though, is I was kind of robbed of watching that show live and enjoying it because of the internet and because of streaming. Had I watched it on HBO, had I just sat there and played it, it would have been just fine. The problem is I watched it again the next day and still saw that it still had that compression. It was still very, very choppy. So I guess I'm trying to keep physical media alive by having channels like this, us talking about it, by buying as many 4K Blu-rays as I can. Still buying games, though you're seeing a new Xbox is going to be, download only. It's not that big a deal if it follows the Steam way, but as far as streaming these games on Stadia or others, there has to be a huge change in the structure of how we stream, as far as our bandwidth, as far as what we pay for, as far as the cable companies and phone companies. That has to change before we can guarantee that picture quality. What's the use of buying OLED or buying these really, really expensive TVs and monitors and these devices? I mean, the phone I'm recording on is $1,000, has an OLED screen. I had black crush all over it. So yeah, most things are pretty clear on it, but there is that buffering that happens. Now look, we're really spoiled. It wasn't that long ago when something buffered. You're like, okay, just give it a second. Now something buffers for a second. You're like, oh, what the hell? Now we're resetting everything. We're running around the house. And that's what I wanted you to picture the other day. This happened again last night on that crazy episode of Game of Thrones. We'll talk again in another episode of this channel once that season is done. We'll talk about it and we'll have an open discussion on where it's headed and what happened. But yesterday, here I am watching it again, and it still was choppy, still did not look great. Dragon's flames and the flying was definitely struggling, again, on an iPad. These are the big 12-inch iPads. They're very nice screen. It looked horrendous. Watching it again on my phone today, a little bit better. But you see the difference? Physical media, I pop that in, I watch it, boom. I watch it from cable the day it comes out, it's fine. All this video is talking about, let's not run to streaming as our main way to watch, in terms of, yes, it's the most convenient way, it's the fastest way, I am as guilty as the next person, but let's not eradicate physical media just yet. Let's not run to say this is the way we want it, because I promise you, you are not going to see the best the best that can look. Now, in terms of something like Game of Thrones on a TV, and I'm somebody who also has surround sound, 7.2 discrete audio, I really don't bother with it with streaming. It's hit or miss. Some stuff is Dolby Digital, doesn't sound great. There'll be some more time for that to also evolve. But here I am watching Game of Thrones again, epic battle on an iPad, maybe with some headphones, and it still wasn't great. And that's kind of what this video was all about. I don't want to stream everything. I still want the option to have non-compressed. Now in video, we also have bit rate and disk space and all of that stuff, but pretty much what you see on disk is what's there. I don't have to worry about is some cable guy changing what's happening on a pole. Is he piggybacking and taking my signal away? And with cable companies having worse and worse service as they're being bought out and having less time to have somebody come out, that's something else I just don't want to think about as we rely more and more on streaming. Game of Thrones, that was ruined for me. See, episode 3, this epic 28 days later, Night of the Living Dead episode was full of black crush. And it was full on black crush on a lot of very expensive devices that should do better. Same with last night's episode. Again, ruined due to compression or the slow bandwidth or whatever you want to call it. I checked all my speeds yesterday. Yesterday I ended up again leaving what was comfortable, running downstairs, putting it on the plasma and watching it, and it was slightly better. But you're telling me that though it's convenient, and it's a convenient thing to do as far as watching it, in terms of picture quality, you might have to wait a couple days for it to be what it should be. Now, watching the Netflix documentary, wilderness documentaries, a lot of them look beautiful. They look much better on disc. But the thing is, they aren't really available. I can't buy Love, Death, and Robots on disc, from what I understand. So at some point, that may be the only way to watch, and I'm not rushing towards it. The Stadia streaming for gaming, it is exciting, but let's not get crazy, guys. For those of us that really pay for native resolution and really want to see it, it's going to be very, very tough. Not just latency and input lag, but can you imagine playing it and seeing it buffer and pixelate? What I love is a really clean image. Playing some of these games crystal clear is what we geek out over. And why am I going to spend so much money on a TV and have it pixelate simply because of compression or lag? It's just not ready yet. And unfortunately, it's just going to come whether we want it or not. Please support physical media. Please go out and continue to buy games and discs and movies. I don't buy anywhere near as many as I used to, but I do buy more than I have in the beginning of 4K. And that's all this video is, a little bit of a rant, but not really a rant. I don't go crazy. We'll have to talk about Game of Thrones in another episode, but I was just very, very turned off by it. And it had nothing to do with my speeds. It was just, it ruined it for me. And being a picture quality person, I definitely, it took me out of it. It took me completely out of it, and the immersion was gone. And that's really all this episode is about. Before we run to that, run to Stadia, this is the same on Prime, Hulu, all of these services. It's really down to your internet speeds, how it comes into your home. And that's just another variable that no one is talking about when they're selling this to us. No one's saying, hey, your internet's a little bit slow during different times of the night. And those of you that have slow internet due to your region, what does that mean for you? Let's talk about it in the comments. Let's have a discussion about it, what you think about it. Are you excited for Stadia? What did you think of the Game of Thrones episodes? How does that Black Rush work out for you in that third episode? And let's talk about it a little further in the comments. Thank you as always. I am Brian from Stadia 74, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.